Hey guys, Mike Dugan, your AutoCAD guru. You know, a lot of guys don't have too much difficulty when it comes to doing CNC programming for one side of a board, but they start getting nervous when they have to do something that's going to be machined on both sides and you need to flip the sheet over. So that's why we're here today to talk about really how easy this is. So as an example, I made up this little plaque of my company name. So the outside perimeter, you can see there's the cutout for the plaque. There's my name there. And then on the back of it, I created this little pocket that a little metal bracket would go into to hang it on the wall. And just for laughs, I threw in a couple of little circles there, and that'll represent a few holes that we could drill on the back to make installing that bracket easier. And as you can see, this has been turned into a block, which is really essential. So let me pull in another block that I made up. And let's see, 4x8 only. Now we could look at this in two ways. One, a perfect world, and then an imperfect world. So we'll talk about perfect world first. And in that perfect world, when you order material, it is exactly the size you're expecting. So these two rectangles I drew here, they're both 48 inches by 96 inches, and that material comes to your shop exactly that size. So let's, for now, we'll pretend that that's actually going to happen, even though we know it's not. So let me grab this block, and I'll move it over to the corner. And let me make some copies of it. So I'm going to grab it like so. Whoops. Let me put that there first so I can move it the right amount. So I'm going to move it 0.55. So in other words, I'm using a 1/2 inch compression bit, and I want to give myself another 50 thousandths to allow for the lead in that I want to use. So let me make two more copies like so. And then we'll make couple of copies like so, move it that 55, and then one last copy. Okay, then the last thing, I'm going to grab it all, and I'm just going to turn ortho off for a moment and basically center it kind of sort of in the middle of the board. All right, now that I've got that done, let me grab this whole thing, make a copy of everything, and push it to the side just in case all hell breaks loose and we need to start from scratch. So all I have to do now is I'm going to take all my geometry and I'm going to explode it. So let me hit the explode. Okay, now it's all exploded. So the key now is I want to take everything that's going to be on the back and mirror it to go on the other side. So let me just grab this. And this is actually, believe it or not, two different layers that I made up. And you'll notice they're similar in colors. I should really back up for just a moment. Let me show you the layering scheme that I used. Everything that's going to be on the back of the sheet, I put a prefix of B because AutoCAD is going to alphabetize all of the layers, so it'll group them all together. And everything's going to be on that's going to be done after flipping. I started those layer names with an A, and as you can see, I use similar colors, sort of in the same family, to tell which is which. Okay, anyway. Let me grab these, and I'm going to isolate those two layers. Then I'm going to window them, mirror, and I'm going to go to the middle of this line that I have here that's connecting these two rectangles. Turn ortho back on, obviously. And yes, I do want to get rid of the source geometry. And now I'll unisolate everything. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we have simplicity itself because we're really done. So when I bring this geometry into AlphaCam, and again, your CAM software might be different, but I use AlphaCam. I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to put this corner at 0, 0 in AlphaCam and do all this machining. Then once that's done, I'm just going to flip it over end for end. So this corner here will become the bottom corner when it's flipped. And all I have to do then is first machine the name, and then I'll make my cutout, and all my parts will be done. Now, I mentioned before that this is for a perfect world, and we know we're not in a perfect world. So let me dump all this all together. And I'm going to just make a copy of these. Actually, I'll just move them. And I'm going to bring in another block that I made up. And this one has a little index cut that I made up. Now, remember I mentioned before how these two rectangles on the left, they're both exactly 4x8 or 48 by 96. what I did over here is I started out this top rectangle. That is exactly 4 by 8. But what I did was I took another line and offset it 1/8 of an inch from the top and 1/8 of an inch from this left side. So when I'm done machining that first round, the next thing I'm going to do is take my compression bit and I'm going to go on this line and create an index cut going along the top and along the bottom. Then all I have to do is take my sheet, flip it over, and then I'll be able to machine the face. So what it's really doing is it's turning my board that was 48 by 96 into a board that I know for certain is 47 7/8 by 95 7/8. This way I know when I flip it over, everything's going to be as it should be. So let me just show you just quickly how this is going to happen again. So I'll move it over. And this is a good example to show you just how easy this is one more time. So again, these are still blocks. So I want to explode them. Oops. Explode them. Then I'm going to isolate these two layers. Then I'm going to window everything. Mirror to the middle of this line. Ortho on. And yes, I want to delete the source objects. And then I unisolate everything. Okay, so again, when I bring this top piece into my CAM software, and again, I use AlphaCam, I am going to index onto my router this point right here. That's going to be 0, 0. I'll do all this machining that's on the inside of the board. The last thing I'm going to do is cut this index line using my 1/2 inch compression bit. Then I'll take the whole sheet, flip it along this axis. So now this corner right here, that's going to become 0, 0 when I flip it over to do this machining over here. And that's really it. Okay, any questions? Put them in the comments. And I'll see if I can take these 2 blocks that I made up. I'll put them in my blog if you want to download them. But I mean, this is really just so easy that it's probably not necessary. But anyway, until next time, this has been Mike Dugan, your AutoCAD guru, signing off.